My wonderful parents named me Grace Mwende. Now, I love these names because Grace means undeserved favor, and Mwende means beloved or loved one. But on a subconscious level, and by no fault of my wonderful parents, I used these names to be complacent and to shrink back and hide on the sidelines of my life, essentially telling life, no, I will not rise up, take up responsibility, and show up to the fullness of my capacity, and watch. I will still be loved and favored anyway. Then one dawn, I was sitting outside and I heard it. A resounding yes to life bubbled up from within me. I heard it in Kikamba, which is my mother tongue. Aya, yes. I knew instantly that this was my new name because it filled me with the feeling of readiness, potential, and possibility. Aya is me telling life, here I am, ready to rise up and show up to the fullness of my creative abilities and affect change. I will show you today how individual readiness is what unlocks opportunity and aligns us to catalyze true and lasting change. Readiness is defined as the state of being fully prepared for something. Now, though we may not know where some transitions in life may lead us, we can be ready, flowing with the transient nature of life. Because the one thing that is guaranteed in life is that nothing remains the same. For me, personal readiness meant a paradigm shift, a critical name change, and an ignition of ideas that are quickly becoming solutions in my community. The challenge of a new dawn in Africa can no longer be groupthink driven. We can no longer give up our personal power and delegate the mandate to rise to a collective Africa, excluding ourselves. We must embody the wake-up call to rise up because we realize that we are Africa. We are the ones who alter and influence the potential of the future, or not. An idea is a powerful catalyst for change. That is why we are all here today. I will not give you a strategy. I will not tell you what to do. I would much rather ignite in you a new perspective so that each and every one of you can learn how to come up with your own unique strategies to affect change. To arise and be present with your own momentum, and to prepare yourself and your personal space for even the possibility of newness is to be ready for your own opportunities and highest potentialities. Innovation is defined as the deliberate application of information, imagination, and initiative in deriving a greater value from an existing resource. It could be as simple as this: taking the concept or information of African timing, which we all know means always late, unfortunately, okay? Now, should we create our own African clock that is ahead of the world so that we can finally show up on time, you guys? Or could we use our imagination to envision a world in which African timing means something higher, more honorable than always late? And then could we take the initiative to flip the script on this ridiculous narrative and actually begin to show up early or on time as Africans? What do you think? Because I think that this innovative act would re-inform the world that we are people who actually value opportunity, who respect other people's time, who are competent, consistent, and responsible. The reality is that we are the ones who are constantly informing the world's view on what Africa is. And that is a huge responsibility. in my professional life as a researcher, practitioner, and practitioner of mental, emotional, and spiritual health for the past 12 years in Africa, I needed to derive greater value from the existing resource. Now, what was this existing resource? The way these three fields are currently being practiced in this continent. And what greater value did I seek to establish? Actual results, real evidence of improvement, healing, and wholeness in the people's lives that were being presented to me. The first thing I found when I initiated my practice was that the people who needed therapy the most could not afford the modalities that we had adopted from other cultures. And those that could afford them were not experiencing an impact in the way we were approaching transformation because it had no connection to how they had been raised. I found that my education and training did very little to equip me for the reality on the ground, and saw very quickly that I was going to need more than formulas if I was going to truly impact my field. I would have to make myself ready to pioneer something entirely new, a more personalized approach. This involved me unlearning, listening, researching, and re-strategizing, which immediately had me decide not to charge for my services, not because I am a master volunteer, but in order to sit in the space of giving real value and assessing the receiver's commitment to their process when there are no obstacles to their access of an invaluable resource, which is their own wholeness. The second thing I changed about the way things were being done is that I removed myself from the office setting, which I found makes the therapist comfortable, not the client. And I started asking my clients what a safe space actually felt like and looked like for them. And then I decided to go to them and begin to meet in their personal safe space that they were creating for themselves, instead of asking them to come to me. You would be astounded to realize the impact that this had on the openness of our sessions. The powerful thing about bringing forth something new and unknown is that it demands a certain level of readiness from everyone who is involved in the research, implementation, development, and testing of this new thing. It was time to take my vast training, combine it with my years of independent research and experience, ignite my imagination, and come up with modalities that work specifically in an African context. And what is this African context, you ask? I will give you one example from the ground and elaborate on it. In my research, I found that the ability to be imaginative and creative is actually vital in the wellness of a human being. I found that there were innovators and change agents present at the top and bottom of the wealth gap in Africa. Those that were at the extreme top of the wealth gap had the luxury of time and resources and space and self-confidence in order to access their imagination and create innovative solutions, as well as the means to facilitate their implementation. Affluence was propelling their innovation. Those at the bottom of the wealth gap, lack, scarcity of resources, desperation, and need were fueling their innovation. The entire Juakali industry, or informal sector, exists to give access to those who otherwise wouldn't have it. I found a creative upcycling industry rising from the dump sites of our cities, literally creating solutions to improve their own state of being. Both these categories, driven by different motives, could, I found, access their information, imagination, and innovate change. The majority, however, in the lower middle of the wealth gap, possess the most dormant potential for innovation. These are the ones who are currently complacent, who are sitting on the sidelines, just like I was, giving consistent negative commentary on the status quo, delegating their personal power to the people they have voted for, fueling the machines and the systems that be with all their energy from 9 to 5, exhausting themselves to the point where intuition is silenced, instincts are dulled, and imagination is mocked as a game for little children. This group has been conditioned to have little to no self-awareness and self-confidence, programmed to view themselves not as solution bringers and creators, and are perceived to be too busy to avail themselves to become the solutions on any meaningful level. This comfort zone they are in, however, has led to great dis-ease within their mental, emotional, and spirit selves. I found that this group had the most profound emptiness, the greatest dissatisfaction, the most dangerous levels of apathy, immense frustration, depression, and anger. If this incredibly potent group of people could tap into their own self-awareness and become ready for the potential of newness, they could be the greatest innovators not only this continent, but the world has ever seen. I have formulated modalities that lead them into self-awareness and ignite their imagination into innovative spaces. I have discovered two polarities simultaneously. There is a deep connection on one end, missing in many Africans, with the aspect of the human vessel that pushes somebody to want to be the answer to a solution, to want to be the initiator of change. A deep disconnection there. And then on the other side, I see individuals who are ready and rising, not only to solve problems, but to ignite foresight and to create, not from reaction or imitation, but from source. Must we be wealthy to believe in ourselves? Must we wait for poverty to literally terrify us into desiring a positive change? Or can we simply avail ourselves to create new imaginative solutions and modalities and ways of being that we can truly be proud of? The imagination is limitless. And to train yourself to expand your perception of possibility will greatly kickstart your creative life. The impact you will notice from shifting your perspective into that of readiness is that you will align with the readiness of others. And you will release yourself into a perpetual flow of meeting opportunities that match your new state of being. You can use your imagination to initiate your expansion. Each person has a part to play in the actualization of newness in Africa, none more vital than the other. We have to get in tune with ourselves and in harmony with each other. This is the state of collective readiness. How long shall we tell the story of a new dawn in Africa without holding ourselves individually accountable for bringing forth and evidencing that newness? We have to each wake up, rise up, wisen up, and take up our individual space in Africa, as Africa, for Africa. Just as you are, here in this moment, do all you can with what is present to make yourself ready for the potential of newness. Using focused attention through expansive imagination, channel your highest expression. Arise, O African. This is your new dawn. Thank you.